When he was attorney general. So
I agree with you.
you talk.
I agree with you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I told the people looking at Epstein files, Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta. Whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. I want to move on to another man. I want to move on to another question.
Question about the
You answered the question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like or with the video.
Only if you sit down. I'm saying in interview, if you didn't allow that hard.
Former President Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended?
This is so ridiculous. And they're trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no way that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one
I'm
claim
my time.
I'm saying thousands of times probably zero.
You got your answer. You should go on there. You shouldn't be like this one. Like this one. I'm launching the gentleman from California. I'm going to put up another document. A witness who called FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied on the oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein.
Don't you ever accuse me of a
I believe you just lied on your oath, and this is all videotape. You said there's no evidence of crime. I'm telling you, here is a witness statement. He called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was stop the limo and took Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one in the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately.
Isn't that fucking crazy? No one has interviewed this woman. That is a crazy tip to see if it's really. See if the guy's crazy. It's 30 minutes.
And you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
All right, we got Thomas.
I already beat this big ass nigga. This other nigga big as
from the
hell.
DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact. A list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to do that. And you know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victim's survivor's names, right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators, fully redacted. And by the way, what happened here, that's Wexner is in this. Now your deputy attorney general said,
let's unredact him here.
but he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it. He's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not the prostitution, not the money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit they have is emblematic of the FD302 release. These are the documents that we need. So holding on to and over redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when we go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you pulled down from the website that we will never see. In your organization, you this massive failure and release the victims' names. Are you able to track who it was that obscured Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times about his.
Yeah, I already told you that.
I don't know what to do.
Finish my answer. Come on, let me finish my answer.
I don't know
We
what to do
collected
now.
that within 40 minutes. He was already not like everybody's trying to cover up Webster's name.
Reclaiming my
I'll
time.
answer this question.
Reclaiming my time.
So what the fuck am I supposed to do? Oh.
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman. I'm reclaiming my time. So I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
She was
What's the question?
okay, and I need to give my answer.
Yeah, let the attorney general respond, and then the gentleman can chairman question my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Webster's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction.
Damn, I'm out of shape now and I'm injured. This ain't good.
They didn't release victim the name. Keeps talking about less.
Man, check out these graphics.
And remind the witness
Else there is no credible information. None. If there were,
They going off.
no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday. I'd be trafficked to other individuals.
That was a lie.
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland?
That sound like a fake number.
Talk about Epstein?
I'm reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland, because this is bigger than Watergate.
Reclaim my time.
Four administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
Now,
your
I want to know, at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wester was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, to release the internal decision about whether the prosecution is not in the files.
All right, I went over the rules. I want you to
Which
protect yourself at all times.
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the fans.
Why they keep making me fight these big ass niggas? This nigga big as hell too.
And you were one of them, hypocrite.
The gentleman's time has expired.
The crazy. What is this? Like the
To be transferred to the minimum security prison that she was ineligible. Who signed off on the special privilege? Was it Mr. Blanche? Was it one of your other subordinates? So please, can you tell us who sent her there, since you don't agree she should be there? I said I do not agree she should receive special treatment. She was transferred, I learned after the fact, to the same level facility, and that is a question for the Bureau of Prisons. I was not involved in that at all. The same level facility, I don't know why. But, you know, instead of talking about
No, uppercut is hard to do, and an uppercut will get you knocked the fuck out.
A multi-decade international criminal conspiracy involving some of the wealthiest and the most powerful people in the world. There's evidence of financial crimes, political corruption, sex trafficking, and of course, horrible sexual abuse. And I want to remind everybody, this isn't a game. These are real people who have suffered, who are sitting here with us today, and they deserve answers, and they deserve accountability. And I'm here to try to get some for them. Now, I've seen some of the unredacted Epstein files, and obviously, as you know, President Trump's name is all over them, but so are the names of other senior Trump officials. Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, John Phelan, the Secretary of the Navy, and Stephen Feinberg, the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These men were appointed by President Trump to senior positions in his administration. All of them have clear and confirmed ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Attorney General Bondi, yes or no, has the Justice Department asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Epstein? Secretary Lutnick has addressed those ties himself. I'm asking you, has the Justice Department specifically asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein? He has addressed those ties himself. Has the DOJ asked Secretary Phelan about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein? I don't know whether he has addressed those or not. Has Deputy Secretary Feinberg talked to the Department of Justice about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein? Yes or no? Has the Department of Justice talked to Deputy Secretary Feinberg about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, which are clearly spelled out in the files? It's a very simple question. It's not a trick question. I'm just asking you. Now, I'm stunned that you want to continue talking about. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm recording my time. I'm asking you not a trick question, a simple question. Okay, so what is clear is we have evidence. You know, we have evidence that 3 senior officials within the Trump administration have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And what I can conclude is why you are saying that you have not talked to them. What is talking? I think Americans would be shocked to learn that you are not interested in talking with these officials who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Across the world. These men who've been exposed in the files have resigned their jobs in disgrace.
I actually touched on saying, what does ties mean? Ties means emails, lunches, breakfasts, dinners. That's what ties are. Why is she talking like there's people that don't have ties?
And that same standard, this same standard should apply here. And Americans want to
Oh!
The president is aware.
I got rocked.
Talking. It is not your time to ask questions. It is not your time. I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chair. Was the president aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce? Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
This is pathetic.
This is pathetic, Mr. Chair. I'm not asking trick questions here. The American people have a right to know the answers to this. These were senior officials in the Trump administration. This is not a game, Secretary.
I'm Attorney General.
My apologies, I couldn't tell.
Ooh. Ooh. Cat fight.
Secretary, couldn't tell that it was a good job.
That Lutnick went to Epstein's island in 2012. How is that not a deal breaker for the president? And why aren't you asking questions of the Commerce Secretary about what he saw when he was at the island, which he lied about? Not ever going to. Why are you not asking these questions? And I see that it's almost expired, so I will say this. Do the right thing, Attorney General. Meet with the survivors. They have been asking for a year. Meet with the survivors. Do the right thing. I yield back.
I was curious if you, Congresswoman, just Bill Clinton now.
Oh. She's doing a lot of defensiveness.
About Bill Clinton. Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once. When he was
Weak sauce.
And also, I want the record to represent
Weak sauce.
It's been 12 months since you gave Republican influencers part 1 of the Epstein files. You said the list was on your desk, and the memo came out and said that there was no list. Phase 2 of the binders never happened. The President of the United States says the Epstein thing is a hoax. He blasts his own base for wanting the release of the files. He blamed Barack Obama. Republicans voted against the release of the files in the Rules Committee, and they refused to even return to the Rules Committee until they could be protected from future votes on the release. Speaker Johnson sends Congress home a day early before break. They sent the Deputy Attorney General to meet with Maxwell. She says something favorable about the president. Miraculously, she gets transferred to a minimum security facility. No one can explain why. Miraculously, the leaks to the Wall Street Journal stop. We come back from break. We have the massive discharge petition. Republicans drop a rule, a non-binding resolution trying to kill the massive discharge petition. The White House says passing the massive discharge petition is a hostile act. Trying to stop the necessary 218 signatures, according to Republican members that signed it, the White House brought them into the Situation Room. You know, the place where the president goes for time of war. Promising things like appropriations or maybe even the primary notes. People in the room say you were there. It didn't work. We get the 218 signatures. We eventually passed the massive petition. You guys didn't release the files. You were forced by Congress. Every member of the House except one and the entire Senate. The reason the president signed it is because it was a veto-proof majority. We can't agree on anything, and yet the entire House but one member and the whole Senate forced the administration to release the files. Cash Patel under oath said to Senator Kennedy, the FBI is not in possession of any credible evidence that Epstein trafficked girls with anyone but himself. We know now that's not true. According to documents, Epstein had a worldwide sex trafficking ring. Girls from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Russia, Paris, modeling agencies sending him girls. He even had a relationship with a summer camp where he groomed girls at a picnic table. Elaine Maxwell says 29 Epstein associates cut secret DOJ deals. Turns out there isn't. 6 names readily available. You unredact them. Co-conspirators named, but we got them when you unredact them. Maxwell recently tells a House Oversight Committee that she wants clemency to release more names. Cash Patel under oath said Trump's name appears less than 100 times in the files. We now know that's not true. Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible, Luther King James. Then Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter. Lutnick said that in 2001 he went to Epstein's home, says he had a massage table in the living room. But Epstein said he got one every day, that it was the right type of massage. He and his wife decided to leave and say they'll never be in a room with him again. Howard then says, I'm sure the Epstein stuff is all on video. He was the greatest blackmailer of all time. Well, how would Howard know? But now the fire is public, and in 2012 we find out that he and his family are on Epstein Island after Epstein pled guilty to state charges. In Florida, I take my family to Disney, not to Epstein Island. There were documents in the files that dispute the president's claim that he kicked Epstein out of his club. Allegedly, the president said that he asked Epstein to leave. Supported now that's disputed though. Statements from the manager of the club. Now, manager, I have 25 seconds left. So because I'm curious. And I'd like to see flip to the Jared Moskowitz section of the binder. I'm interested to see what staff provided on the opposite day, and because we're in the Olympics, I'm going to give it a grade. I just want to see how good it is. So give me your best one.
So first of all, nothing is funny about mocking the Bible and holding up the Trump Bible. That's what you did.
That's the best
You made a joke. It's fine.
I wanted that.
That's all I have to say.
I wanted from the Burnley. I wanted from the Burnley, which is the best one. Which is that?
Has expired, but doesn't expensive recognition.
Voted 0. I consider the best trip to both the book and pleasure was covered everything bad about it. Awful. Don't say what the cover.
Ms. Bondi, will you commit right here to immediately providing those two documents in unredacted form to members of Congress? Not about paper.
Well, I guess it is for you because you have a law degree and those are privileged.
Okay, they're not privileged, but we will discuss that later. I also found an email that I have right here from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell that was unredacted.
Oh,
It included notes of statements that Donald Trump made about his prior relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, there is no reason for this to be hidden from the American people. There is no privilege. There is no attorney-client privilege. And I see you're checking with your staff, and I can assure you, staff, this is not under attorney-client privilege because it was sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Will you commit to publicly providing the unredacted version of this so that the American people can understand the extent of Donald Trump's lies about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
You're about as good of a lawyer today as you were when you tried to impeach President Trump in 2016. Have you apologized for that?
Will you unredact this? Yes, of course.
I wonder if that actually is technically true. If it was sent from Epstein to Ghislaine, how was that true?
Now, these are obviously improper redactions.
And then
I'm talking. I'm quiet.
Yell at me if they're not.
yeah, I'm Roy Jones.
Use your improper redacting
Answer.
to continue to protect sidewalks members.
They keep making me fight these big motherfuckers.
To protect Donald Trump and other predators associated with Jeffrey Epstein. You did the exact opposite thing with the survivors and victims of this scheme. So their identification information was really the only thing required to be redacted, and it was not. And it's clear this was not a mistake. This was not by accident. This was not because you only had 30 days when you really used 75, and that doesn't even include all the hours last March that you weren't redacting it. But I'll tell you why it's clear it wasn't a mistake. There is an email entitled Epstein Victim List. There are 32 names. One was redacted. 31 are not. So someone looked at it and decided to redact something.
I said that earlier. I was like, wait, what? I was only one name, and then you look at all the other names. Like, fuck it.
Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of you. And of those of you, all of you who have reached out, how many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice? All of you. And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Ms. Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them. Well, Ms. Bondi, it looks like you have some more wisdom and civil inspired. Now yield back.
That's pretty much it for this video. I'll try to focus on the Epstein question. The way that people act is baffling. I can't believe it's described every day.
He got all of Epstein found. That was Pam Bundy. What was his other one?
Passing day that Epstein files get more and more insane. Joe Connell and Thomas Massey revealed the names of 6 men previously shoved in the Justice Department's records, including the
What? Sam under track.
According to Republicans and critics. A lot going on. I'll read on this video. Everything discussed in publicly announcing the 6 redacted names and Epstein files that are fake conspirators, such people that should literally be in prison. He was one of the people in Congress that were able to go and see the unredacted files, so let's see what he has to say.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday, Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake. These men are Salvatore Navora, Laura Nicolai, Leopold Leonor, Nicola Saputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massey and I going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public?
It's a great question. Because they're being protected. Because they're billionaires. That's the answer.
And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files. But the story gets worse. The reality is that Donald Trump's FBI scrubbed these files in March, long before Thomas Massey and I passed the Epstein Transparency Act. Now, my bill is clear. The Epstein Transparency Act requires them to unredact those FBI files. And yet the Justice Department said to me,
Yeah, my ass shake.
we just uploaded them to the FBI sent us. And guess what? The FBI said, grab a file.
My last video, I read that. People in the chat were like, ah, okay, we're going to redact anything and everything. That's what I read in my video yesterday. You're not wrong.
That was the survivor statement to the FBI, naming rich and powerful men who went to Epstein's Island, who went to his ranch, who went to his home and abused underage girls.
I don't understand half this shit I'm doing.
They're all redacted.
But apparently this is what you gotta
They're
do.
inviting all the members of Congress.
You probably should have picked up
Department of Justice, quote unquote,
a regular season.
but they've got all redacted files from the FBI. And it's not the fault of the Justice Department attorneys. They were just told to upload things that Donald Trump's FBI had already scrubbed. It's a blatant violation of the Epstein Transparency Act, but it also asks a fundamental question. Who are they protecting?
Powerful men.
Why are they protecting these rich and powerful men, people like Paul, part of the Epstein class? Why are we in a country where there is no elite accountability for people who do the most heinous things? You have
okay, eat my size.
now calling for an investigation and possible prosecution of his own brother.
Crazy. Other countries seem to be having way more consequences than ours.
Let's do it.
And this happened in the United States, well, besides Ohio and whatever, but in New York and Florida a lot, in other countries too, but Epstein's from the United States, you know what I mean?
You have in Norway the princess who no longer has support to be the queen. And yet in the United States of America, we have someone in the cabinet, Howard Lutnick, who is all over these Epstein files, who allegedly had business with Epstein after he was convicted of pedophilia, and he still is in the cabinet.
Howard Lutnick lied several times. I mean, he straight up said that he only met with Epstein once for 10 minutes, because they were neighbors, and then that comes out, they had a whole dinner with, like, their families or whatever, their lunch with their families. Here's Howard Lutnick testifying and getting absolutely grilled. To the channel, please hit subscribe. I appreciate the support. Back to the video, boys.
You led people to believe that you had cut off all contact with Jeffrey Epstein after the 2005 encounter you and your wife had in his apartment.
Yeah, keep turning your side.
Epstein files
keep turning your side, motherfucker.
Interaction. Why did the Epstein files show you coordinating a meeting?
Keep turning your side.
Jeffrey Epstein on his private island in December 2012.
Thank you for the question. I'm glad to be here to make it clear.
Oh!
I met Jeffrey Epstein when I moved to a house next door to him. Over the next 14 years, I met him 2 other times that I can recall.
That I can recall is the key statement that you already know. Someone's going to find another time where they met. He's like, oh, yep, that I could recall at that time. So he's not lying technically because that's all he could recall at this time.
None for 6 years. So 6 years later, I met him. And then a year and a half after that, I met him. And never again. Probably the total. And you've seen all of these documents.
How in the hell does he turn sideways?
Connecting.
What kind of weird ass boxing stance is this?
Over a 14-year period, I did not have any relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person.
I think you understand the root of concerns. The way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him, his apartment, discussed it, never had any contact with him again. Did you in fact make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple. They were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true. For an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies.
I'm Roy Jones.
Family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
keep in mind, Epstein at this point, in 2012, was already convicted of basically harboring children. And got the easiest sentence ever. Remember I read his sentence and he was able to leave and shit, and got literally a slap on the wrist for having 40 plus victims at his house with a massage table. Crazy. In Florida, yeah. You can watch one of my recent videos about it. I'll link it down below.
I don't like this.
Engaged in any wrongdoing with Jeffrey Epstein. It's the fact that you misled the country and the Congress based on your earlier statements.
Exactly. I don't think there's any really evidence of him hurting children. It's the fact that he lied about meeting him several times. Why would he do that? That's a red flag. To me, that shows there's, there'd be more to the story. Why are you lying about meeting him several times? And you said you only met him once. You walked in his New York apartment and there was a massage table. That's what he said. And then left. But then you met with your and kids and chill on his island after he was convicted of R-wording children.
Suggested that you call a halt to that. In fact, you had not. When you visited the private island, did you see anything inappropriate during that visit?
The only thing I saw with my wife and my children and the other couple and their children was slashing or was there upstairs on their property.
And you realized that this visit took place after he'd been convicted, right? I mean, you made a very big point of saying that you sensed that this was a bad person in 2005. And then, of course, in 2008, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution of a minor.
By the way, there's a lot of stuff going on right now about the investigation into Epstein back in the 2000s. By 2004, I think November 2004, they were already tipped off about Epstein. Shit going on in his house. There was already investigation going on in 2004. So I just want to point that out. Remember that date.
And yet you went and had this trip and other interactions. Did you have a dinner in Epstein's New York City home in 2011?
No.
So the information that suggests that there was a dinner with Woody Allen and Woody Allen's spouse, Epstein, that's there's nothing to that. Is that right?
I actually don't know what you're referring to. I looked through the millions of documents for my name, just like everybody else, and what I found was there was a document that says that I had a meeting with him in May, I think, for an hour at 5 o'clock. Not dinner or otherwise, for an hour at 5 o'clock.
There's also a reference to the fact that Epstein had expressed an interest in meeting your nanny. Do you know whether Jeffrey Epstein ever met with your nanny?
No, I saw that. I had no idea. Had nothing to do with me. As far as I know.
Would you, Mr. Secretary, be willing to ensure that the file is complete to share with this committee and the Congress your own records, any records you have that relate to Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm sure we talked about that. I hadn't thought about that. I have nothing. Absolutely.
All right, so quick update on the Trump situation. Trump is now a hero, according to this one man here, who recalls a conversation from 14 years earlier in 2006. This is an interview from 2020, so 14 years earlier. And apparently Trump, reported Epstein in 2006, essentially. And Glenn Maxwell called her evil, and they were pieces of shit. All right, so the person being interviewed is Palm Beach Police Department Chief Michael Reiter, I believe you pronounce it. He's redacted in these files. But he met Epstein back in 2006. He stated that in one of the boxes was an image copy of Jeffrey Epstein's kitchen counter laptop that had phone messages that redacted hadn't seen before. The employee was stealing from Epstein, and Epstein called the Palm Beach Police Department. This is how redacted met Epstein. Epstein donated $40,000 to Palm Beach Police Department to help fix some machines to help PPPD review security footage. Crazy. A literal sex trafficker PDF file was donated to the police department. That ends up arresting him. He also wrote a check for $90,000 to help them purchase a fingerprint machine. This was around the same time that Epstein's first victim had come forward to the police department. I mean, this is crazy. It seems like he's donating his money because he knows he cooked. So at this time, there was already an investigation number in 2004. I'm sure he was tipped off at some point. The police chief writer or whatever did not cash this check. It was very common for BPD to receive donations from the wealthy like this. Epstein donated the police scholarship fund for children. He donated more than others. Redacted asked redacted who Epstein is. Redacted so that Epstein supports law enforcement and is an important guy. Reiter became the police chief in 2001. In the early 2000s, maybe 2003, a call came into the tip line that attractive women were coming in and out of Epstein's house. BPD did surveillance of Epstein's house, and 2 separate women were stopped. They were students of redacted. They took dogs and said they were working for him. Stepmother, the first victim whose name redacted thought was redacted.
Beautiful women coming from his house.
Okay, so stepmother called and said her daughter was having sex with a man in Palm Beach. They brought the precinct and she said, "I'm not the only one, there are other girls doing it." This case was assigned to redacted. We interviewed redacted a few days later. The case started to grow rapidly. So that's 2003 is what this guy is recalling, right? Remember these dates, 2003, 2004, Epstein's already cooked, like getting reported on people. Redacted experience inside the house was then corroborated. More surveillance was done on Epstein's house. Some kids were observed. Teenagers with braces and backpacks coming from school. One employee said there were dozens of girls in one bed. They put together a case with the state attorney, blah, blah, blah. Redacted spoke with the state attorney and had a good relationship with. Redacted was to get a detective and speak with the sex crimes unit. And the state attorney asked what the case was about. Reiter said it was about Epstein. The state attorney told Reiter that he had never heard of him. Then after he switched to defense,
that boy,
the state attorney told Reiter to write Epstein a notice to appear for a misdemeanor. Due to the lascivious behavior, Reiter debated on whether to arrest Epstein on probable cause, but said it would be problematic for the state attorney. Palm Beach tried to keep the case tight. They would type up their reports and put it on a hard drive, which they would put in the state. They had sexual battery cases against the co-conspirators. These scientific victims are not credible and would show their MySpace pages and such. They would refute minute details and probably call their data. Writer thought it was leaked by attorney's office. Writer thought the defense attorneys thought they weren't doing enough to talk him out of it. This case died at the state level. Writer then wrote a letter to the state attorney asking him to recuse himself. Private investigators began harassing and playing games. Epstein had Redacted go to Redacted and tell him these girls are just prostitutes. These are just happy endings. These are minor cases. Private investigators began pulling the police officers' trash. Epstein had private investigators basically harassing Palm Beach Police Department. Crazy. This guy got away with this much shit. About 6 months after Ryder retired, he was contacted by a private investigator who was represented by attorney Redacted. He told Redacted that he had some safety concerns for him. Redacted was told that Igor, Epstein's trainer, recently purchased a townhouse. The FBI got involved, introduced the victims to the FBI. Everyone was very motivated. There was a lot of communication. There was a discussion of a plea deal. A U.S. attorney named Acosta said that things had been very frustrated with the case. He said there were a lot of interest from higher up. A lot of interest from higher up. It is crazy this guy got away with this much shit. Just because he had connections. The kid now wants to take it back. It took months to convince him to take it back. It's very disappointing that the system failed in this case. Yeah, you think the system is. This case go away. Oh my god. They give him a $90,000 check after he came back to the writer's office. I talked about the Harvard donation that he just wanted to know about. The back there was like he was sizing up writer. Afterwards, Ryder walked back into the lobby, and Redacted was there. She was like a statue. And now here's the part mentioned Trump. Sorry, I tried to give context. There's a big investigation long for years. It ends up like getting thrown now. FBI gets involved, and the state tries to get involved. The absolute shit show is a very powerful guy holding the strings, literally evading justice because he's rich and powerful. Palm Beach Country Club is a Jewish country club. A lot of wealthy people are there, and we flock together. Mar-a-Lago is a mixture of everyone. Donald Trump told Redacted that he's resting of his club. Club Palm Beach is called the Big Goodness You're Stopping. Everyone has been doing. And people in New York, we have seen disgusting. Trump said Maxwell was Epstein's operative. She is evil and focused on her. Why did Trump enforce her love 2 years ago? Why is she in another prison that is more comfortable with a pet? I'll continue up. Trump told Redacted that he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present. Trump got the hell out of it. Keep in mind, this is all from a chief of police memory, a 14-year-old conversation from there's no record of Trump actually calling anyone in 2006. Trump was one of the very first people to call when people found out they were investigating Epstein. So this was already one thing, investigation going on. He was not a whistleblower. There's literally headlines on like tweets everywhere, like I guess like Republican Twitter, that he's a whistleblower. And like, I'll take down Epstein. It's crazy. That's not what happened. No one could explain how Epstein made money. Worked for their stunts. I don't know if the person rich. Then he told Epstein was kind of the technical guy and made it happen, but he didn't want to know how. One of the things that BBC spoke with said they had sexual contact with men other than Epstein, while Epstein's order. Redacted had one time went out to school, picture in Palm Beach, with no protection while in there. An interior designer told Palm Beach that rooms in the Virgin Islands had been decorated with teenage girls. Redacted contacted the Virgin Islands police. They're not helpful. Yeah. Trump is now a hero. Apparently, just from that one document, I've been calling them judge and saying they're evil. I'm to you. You took them down. You know what I'm saying? That's what I read, right? And he's a whistleblower. You took him down straight up. You reported him. He's a agent. Let's go. Not only did he make the call once the cat was out of the bag and the investigation started, but
You can't fight me, say, motherfucker. I just fought him. I just fought him.
I'm saying, no. 6 I called and reported him and said he's an evil monster and took him down. It's literally just a police chief remembering a 14-year-old conversation, allegedly of Trump calling saying that people knew that, it's disgusting. They were for years and years and years. Like, what are we doing? And the fact that he's enervated.
Hello. Hello.
Trey.
You on my live. You on my PlayStation live.
The cat, I don't give a damn. The cat off of Madagascar almost died.
Madagascar, right now?
Go to the video. Go to the video.
Y'all give me a second here. I'm ending the boxing. I'm about to end boxing. Apparently, Madagascar almost died over in Abuja. We got action. According to Truth Hurst, we got action. I see y'all in about 10